Have you ever wondered why there are people who seem mysteriously favored by God? Even after loss, betrayal, or loneliness, they rise again with a light that cannot be extinguished, as if an invisible hand keeps guiding them, even when the world collapses around them. They don't need to struggle to be blessed, because their very presence is a blessing. No, they're not more perfect than others. They've simply walked through nights that other souls were not brave enough to face. And then they realized God had never left them. He was shaping them to become instruments of light. Carl Jung once said that every awakening begins with dissolution, because before God can use you, He must allow everything false within you to collapse. And only when you no longer cling to anything external can you hear the sacred voice within. In today's video, we will walk through 7 signs that you are one of those chosen by God, not because you're more special than others, but because your soul is ready for a mission greater than yourself. Stay until the end, because you may realize every event in your life was never random. They were sacred codes sent by Him to awaken you. Number 1. When your soul can no longer tolerate mediocrity. There are phases in life when you suddenly feel you can no longer live the same way. Everything still happens, the familiar job, the relationships that once made you feel safe, the habits that gave you a sense of control. But somewhere deep within, a small crack begins to spread. Quiet, subtle, like a whisper you can no longer ignore. No matter how hard you try, you know, you can't go back to who you were. You wake up one morning, look around the same room, touch the life you once worked so hard to build, and realize everything is still there. Except you are not. That feeling of emptiness without a reason, yet so real, it makes your heart heavy. Nothing has happened, yet you know something is no longer right. That moment, though painful, is the first sign of awakening. Carl Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." And the first pain of a chosen soul is not material loss, but the pain of realizing you have lived too long in falseness, in a life designed to please others instead of honoring your own soul. God does not awaken the chosen through rewards, but through emptiness. He doesn't shout, He whispers. But once you hear that voice, you can never pretend you haven't. The feeling of, "I can't live like this anymore," is not failure. It's a signal that the shell is ready to crack. Just as a seed must break to let the sprout emerge, your soul is breaking through the persona, the mask you've worn too long to be accepted, to survive. Many people think they are losing everything, but in truth, they are only leaving behind what no longer belongs to them. The chosen one cannot remain in the cocoon of mediocrity because the light inside them is too great to be confined. Everything that once felt stable begins to melt under the heat of truth. Shallow relationships fall away. What once made you happy now suffocates you. I once heard a friend tell of a morning that changed her life forever. She made coffee like every day, but as the dark liquid streamed into the cup, her tears fell with it. For no reason, she just knew she could no longer live this way. God does not call sleeping souls. He awakens those who dare to feel, to dissolve, to face emptiness without running away. And when you're brave enough to look within, you'll realize it's not the world that's changing, it's you returning home. Number 2. When you hear the inner calling, the divine calling. When the soul has endured enough silence and breaking, what follows isn't bright light, but a small, quiet calling, faint yet undeniable. It's the moment you hear something beyond reason, as if a door within has just creaked open, and a gentle sound rises, not in words, but in feeling. And that is how God whispers to the chosen. Carl Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." When you begin to turn inward, intuition becomes the language of the soul, one the mind cannot decode. This calling doesn't come through the outer world, through people or success, but from the deepest place within you. Many hear it, but quickly dismiss it as imagination. But the chosen cannot. The more they try to ignore it, the louder it echoes, until it becomes an irresistible pull. A woman once shared her story on our channel. She worked in a large corporation. Everyone thought she had it all: high income, admiration, a polished life. But one night, surrounded by glowing office lights, she heard a voice inside repeating, "This is not where your soul belongs." At first, she thought she was just tired. But as the voice persisted, she knew she couldn't ignore it. She quit, not because she knew where to go, but because she knew staying was betraying her soul. Only after leaving did she rediscover what made her heart truly alive, the peace she had lost while chasing others' expectations. She began to write, to teach, to guide others who were lost as she once was. No titles, no spotlight. But for the first time, she was living, not merely existing. The divine calling always begins this way, unclear but undeniable. It doesn't show you the destination, only the next step. Like walking through fog, you can't see the whole path, but the faint light ahead is always enough for the next step. And if you dare to follow, the path will reveal itself. In Jungian psychology, this is when the self begins to communicate with consciousness, the divine center within each. Perfect plan when they hear the call. They only carry a strange certainty. They don't know why. They just know they must go. They feel a mission awaiting them, though they can't name it yet. And that faith sets them apart. When you follow the call, your life may grow chaotic as everything stable begins to shift. But that's not a mistake. It's God replacing old energies to prepare you for the new. The nature of divine calling is that it doesn't come with reason. It's not, "I think I should," but "I know, even if I'm afraid, this is where I must go." And as you walk that path, you realize life is no longer random. Everything that happens collaborates to help you fulfill something larger than yourself. God doesn't need you to be perfect to call your name. He only needs you to listen. His voice doesn't come to the noisy, but to the silent. And once you've heard it, you cannot return. You feel energy shifting within you, as if new light is rising from your core. No words, no proof needed. That energy itself becomes your message. Have you ever felt that calling? The moment you knew you must change, even without knowing what awaited. Share your story in the comments, because your story might be the light that helps another soul recognize their own divine call. And that's when the journey moves to the next stage, when your energy becomes your language. Number 3. When your energy becomes your language. When someone truly begins to follow their inner calling, they no longer need to speak to be heard, nor prove themselves to be acknowledged. From their very presence emanates something, silent yet powerful. People cannot name it. They only feel that something about you changes the atmosphere, as if your energy has become language, and other souls can hear it even when you say nothing. Carl Jung once wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." When your soul becomes aligned, when you no longer live remembered the moment I had felt that same pain and allowed God's love to flow through me. At that moment I understood. She didn't comfort with words, but with the energy of a soul that had made peace with its own pain. That story reminds us that energy cannot lie. You can fake kindness or humility, but energy, the frequency that radiates from the soul, knows no deception. If you are anxious, you transmit anxiety. If you are peaceful, others feel safe near you. Jung called this stage the radiation of the self, when the energy of the true self naturally radiates outward without effort. It's like the sun. It never tries to shine. It simply is, and light happens. The chosen are like that too. They don't try to inspire, yet people feel illuminated in their presence. At this stage, you no longer speak to be heard, but because something must be said. Words are no longer tools of the ego, but instruments of the soul. Sometimes a simple phrase, "I understand," or "I believe in you," can make someone cry because they feel the compassion behind it. That's when you realize you are no longer speaking, you are transmitting. What you transmit isn't knowledge, but frequency. When your energy becomes pure, you don't need to change others. By simply being yourself, you touch their souls. The chosen understand that power isn't found in speaking louder, but in becoming clearer. They are like water, soft, never fighting for form, yet penetrating everything, bringing life wherever they go. They no longer ask, "How can I make others understand me?" but "What frequency am I sending out?" And that's when everything changes. You no longer need to spread positivity because you are that energy. When your soul is integrated, every action, the way you look, speak, or live, becomes a prayer. People may forget your words, but they'll never forget how they felt in your presence. That is the proof that you've entered a new stage where your energy has become your language and your presence is the message of God. Number 4, when you're tested between blessing and storm, there comes a stage in the chosen one's journey when everything feels paradoxical. You feel guided by grace, yet simultaneously tested to the limit. Blessing and storm arrive together, as if God and the darkness sit at the same table, whispering about your soul in ways you can't yet comprehend. Every time you think you've reached peace, another wind rises, pulling you back into the whirlpool of doubt, fear, and exhaustion. Carl Jung once wrote, "No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. No soul can reach the light without walking through its own darkness." When you are chosen, God doesn't just give you light. He lets you face your shadow, not to punish, but to expand your heart. For light becomes real only when it's tested in the night. Imagine a sword being forged. Before it can reflect light, it must be heated in fire, hammered thousands of times, and plunged into cold water. Skip that process, and it remains weak metal. Likewise, the chosen soul must be tested, not to break, but to strengthen. The storm doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to reveal your hidden power. I once knew a woman named Ruth, an anesthesiologist admired by all for her skill and compassion. But one day her world collapsed. Her mother died suddenly, her marriage fell apart, and she was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease that weakened her body. During long hospital months, she felt abandoned, unable to save anyone, not even herself. She told me, "I used to think God blessed me so I could heal others. But when I couldn't, I didn't know who I was anymore." Time passed. In sleepless nights, Ruth began to pray differently, not asking to be healed, but to understand the meaning of her pain. And she discovered what only those who've walked through deserts understand. Sometimes God doesn't heal by removing pain, but by using it to open your heart. Later, when she recovered, Ruth returned to work, but no longer as a doctor who saves, rather as someone who simply sits beside patients, holding their hands, saying, "I know that feeling." Her energy was no longer the power of a rescuer, but the peace of one who has faced darkness and no longer fears it. Trials are the reverse side of blessings. When you're given light, darkness appears to test if you truly belong to it. Jung called this the principle of enantiodromia, the law of opposites. Any extreme, when taken far enough, gives birth to its opposite. The closer you get to light, the deeper you must go into your shadow. The more grace you receive, the more you are called to humility. The more power you are given, the more you must learn to surrender control. In Jungian terms, this is the stage of integration. The soul cannot become whole by choosing only what's good and rejecting what's dark. When God tests you through pain, He's bringing you to the realm where light and shadow meet, where you must learn to hold your light even as the wind blows. The chosen are not those who only pray in the church, but those who still believe on the battlefield, who heard only by awakened souls. Carl Jung said, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder, a secret order." When you are chosen, you begin to sense that truth. Every trial, loss, and seemingly random meeting is perfectly arranged to open new levels of awareness. What once made you cry, "Why would God let this happen?" becomes, now I see what He was teaching me. I once met a woman named Clara during a therapy retreat. After her husband's sudden death, she drowned in grief, convinced God had abandoned her. "I prayed," she said, "and all I heard was silence." One winter morning, walking by a frozen river, she saw small streams of water slipping beneath the ice, reflecting sunlight. The sight made her weep. "I realized," she said, "even under the frozen surface, life keeps moving." God wasn't silent. He was teaching me to look deeper. From that day, Clara began seeing hidden orders everywhere. A friend calling at the right time, a song matching her mood, a book opening to the exact page she needed. "Nothing feels random anymore," she said. "God was speaking all along. I was just too hurt to hear." Jung called this synchronicity, meaningful coincidence, when the outer world starts mirroring the movements of the soul. For the chosen, synchronicity isn't mere coincidence. it's the language of God. You no longer live in separation, but within the intersection between human will and divine intention. Even modern science confirms this. Physicists call it the principle of self-organization. In the universe, even systems that appear chaotic spontaneously form order, from galaxies to seashell spirals to human heartbeats. Chaos is simply order not yet seen. Likewise, when your mind becomes still, you begin to perceive how everything fits together perfectly. You think of someone, they call. You say something, a sign appears. What once felt random becomes divine dialogue. For Jung, this is the stage of individuation when ego and soul begin to merge. Seeing order in chaos means you no longer view life through the fearful eyes of the ego, but through the trusting vision of the soul. You trust in divine order instead of control. And in that trust, miracles begin to unfold. But divine order isn't always gentle. Sometimes it demands you release what you cling to, jobs, relationships, plans, so your soul can rearrange your life at a higher order. The chosen understand that storms are part of the plan. And when you see that, you stop asking, "Why is this happening?" and start asking, "What is this rearranging within me?" Seeing order in chaos doesn't mean you stop feeling pain. It means you find meaning within it. You realize pain isn't sent to destroy you, but to refine you, peeling away falseness and illusions that kept you from your true self. When you see this way, even suffering becomes an instrument of grace. That's the fifth sign of being chosen. When you can see order in chaos, your mind begins to harmonize with the mind of God. You no longer live in resistance, but in cooperation. You no longer endure life, you co-create with it. And at that moment, when you stop fearing what you can't understand, you enter a new level of trust, where everything, both light and shadow, works for your awakening. And once you see order in chaos, God brings you to a deeper lesson, that your real battlefield isn't out there, it's within. Number 6. When you realize the real battlefield is within. As the awakening deepens, you begin to understand that the true battle of the chosen isn't with others, nor the world, but with the unhealed parts within yourself. No one truly hurts you, they only touch wounds still open. No one truly betrays you, they merely reflect the ways you've betrayed yourself. And that's when you stop blaming, stop projecting, and begin to look within. Carl Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." The path to light is not to flee darkness, but to walk into it. When you are chosen, God doesn't want you to talk about love and light. He wants you to become love, even while standing in the darkest parts of yourself. I once met a yoga teacher everyone admired for her serenity. Yet during deep meditation, tears began streaming uncontrollably. "I don't understand," she said. "I teach others to find peace, yet I feel angry and lonely." When her instructor gently asked, "What are you angry about?" she was silent for a long time, then whispered, "I'm angry at my mother. She never hugged me once as a child." The room fell still. She had spent half her life being peaceful, but in truth, it was her way of escaping anger. She taught forgiveness while never allowing herself to feel her pain. Only when she faced it honestly, without running, without rationalizing, did she discover true peace isn't the absence of storm, but standing still within it. That moment is what Jung called the integration of the shadow, embracing, not denying, your darkness. When you hold your fears, anger and pain. You are embracing the inner child who's been abandoned too long. And something miraculous happens. Darkness loses its power once you stop fearing it. Imagine but over your own fear. That is the sixth sign of the chosen. When you realize the true battlefield lies within, and there God whispers, "Do not fear. I am here." If this part touches you, if you've ever felt you're battling yourself, comment one single word that captures your journey right now. Just one word from your heart. Because sometimes one true word can open the door to healing. Number 7. When you no longer seek God outside because He is within you. After all the trials, the collapses, the long nights of praying in silence and hearing only your heartbeat, something miraculous happens. Not blinding light, not a voice from heaven, but a profound stillness fills your heart. And there, you understand. God never left. He was never far. He's always been here, in every breath, every heartbeat, every pain you thought you couldn't bear. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And when you become your true self, no more masks, no more division between soul and ego, that is when you unite with God. Because in truth, yourself is not the small ego, but the divine essence where He resides. The chosen at this stage no longer pray for miracles because they are the miracle. They no longer ask, "Where is God?" because every word, every act, every breath bears His imprint. They no longer search for signs because they are the sign. Light is no longer what they chase, it's what they radiate. I once witnessed a woman walk in such a journey, not through despair, but through love. She had loved someone deeply, praying for the relationship to be saved, for that person to change, for things not to end. When every effort failed, she fell to her knees and cried, "Why, God, would you let me lose the one I love most?" Then one ordinary morning, as sunlight streamed through the window, she felt an inexplicable peace. In that moment, she realized, He never took love away from me. He only reminded me that true love lives within me, not in anyone else. From that day, she stopped praying for him to return and simply said, "Thank you for teaching me to love without possessing." In letting go, she discovered God had never been far. He was loving through her own heart. In Jungian psychology, the chosen are no longer governed by praise or blame, gain or loss, right or wrong. They live like water, unresisting, unaggressive, yet capable of passing through everything by the strength of softness. They no longer say, "I serve God," because they know that simply living true to their soul is service to Him. In the Bible, Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is within you." His kingdom is not above, not in temples, but in the heart of one who knows love, forgiveness, and can see Him in all things, in water, wind, or a stranger's eyes. When you reach this place, you stop searching for God, because you realize you are His dwelling place. This is the final and highest sign. When you no longer seek God outside, when you realize He exists in every cell of your being, when every prayer becomes a breath, and every breath becomes a prayer, your journey is complete. You no longer need to be chosen because you are that choice. You no longer ask, "Where is He?" because you see Him in your eyes, your hands, your heart. And in that quiet, simple, unglorious moment, you understand. Being chosen was never about privilege, it was about surrender. Because the truly chosen do not live to be loved, they live to become love. And in that love, God smiles, for at last His soul has recognized itself. Those chosen by God are not perfect souls, but ones brave enough to dissolve and become real. They have walked through darkness, through abandonment, only to realize He was never gone. He was teaching them to become light within the world. Every trial, every loss, every tear has turned into seeds of awakening, so they may shine without showing off, love without possessing, and lead without saying a word. If you are on that path, between blessing and storm, loss and rediscovery, know that you are not alone. Everything unfolding is part of the divine plan. You don't need to be chosen again, because your awakening itself is proof that God has chosen you long ago. There are moments in life that make you pause and realize every upheaval, Every trauma is not just a random occurrence, but seems to be guiding you toward a rendezvous that was long predestined. Jung calls this the journey of bringing the unconscious into light, where you face what has long been buried and begin to understand that everything has its reason for appearing in your story. A soul contract is one way to describe these invisible agreements. It's the pact your soul made before coming here, a blueprint containing the lessons, challenges, and opportunities necessary for your growth. Trauma is not a glitch in this contract, but rather a crucial clause meant to push you out of your old limitations. When we don't yet understand the concept of a soul contract, we often respond with resistance or resentment, viewing hardships as mere injustices. But somewhere along the journey through pain, something shifts. Subtle signs begin to appear, indicating that you are nearing the completion of a deep agreement between your soul and this life. In this video, we'll explore 7 powerful and unmistakable signs, signals that show you are ready to close that contract and step into a new chapter. One that is freer, clearer, and more aligned with your true self than ever before. Number 1. The breakdown was a turning point, not a curse. There are days when, in the blink of an eye, your life takes a sharp turn. No warning, no time to prepare. A midnight phone call announcing the passing of someone you love. A routine morning that ends with a notice that you've lost your job. A goodbye hug that turns out to be the last. These moments, whether you want them or not, split your life into 2 parts, before and after. In the early days, pain feels like a thick fog surrounding you. You can't tell day from night. Each step feels like walking on shards of your past, your heart aching from the effort just to stay upright. You wonder what you did to deserve this. Is it fate punishing you? Or are you simply unlucky in a world that seems to favor others? We are often taught to dream of a peaceful life, but no one teaches us how to survive when the storm hits. So when it does, our instinct is to reject it or cling tightly to the story of being a victim as a shield to survive. But Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." This statement doesn't deny the pain, but it offers another perspective, that even the most brutal event can become a turning point instead of a curse. From a Jungian perspective, major life upheavals are often linked to what is called ego death, when the identity you once believed was you collapses. It could be the happy wife, the competent employee, or the good child, roles you've embodied so deeply that you forgot they were only parts of you. When the crisis shatters those roles, you find yourself stripped bare, unprotected. That moment is both terrifying and liberating. Because in the moment you lose everything, you finally ask the question, if I'm no longer all of that, who am I really? A friend of mine lost his job after more than 10 years of commitment, and the event forced him to face a massive emptiness in his life. The initial shock left him disoriented, as if everything that once defined him had been erased. Just like a forest must shed old leaves to grow anew, you can only uncover the deeper version of yourself once the old shell is peeled away. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize that the curse was really an invitation to leave your comfort zone, to face darkness, and to discover a light no one can take away from you. And if a crisis is the first sign that you've truly begun the journey of completing your soul contract after trauma, then the repetition of pain is the next chapter, where life tests whether you've truly learned the lesson or are still being pulled backward by the past before you step into full freedom. Number 2. Pain repeats until you learn the lesson. There are experiences that seem unrelated but carry the same emotional residue. You change jobs, yet still end up with a boss who makes you feel invisible. You fall in love again, but it ends with the same ache of abandonment. You move to a different city, but still feel disconnected and out of place. The external scripts vary, but the core emotion is identical, as if life is showing you the same movie over and over again. Carl Jung called this the power of complexes, emotional and memory clusters imprinted deeply in the unconscious. They function like invisible magnets, pulling you into familiar scenarios where you respond in familiar ways. The irony is, you often don't realize you're stuck in a loop. You just feel tired, confused, and may even believe you're unlucky or that fate is to blame. But according to Jung, there is no randomness here. The universe, or your own soul, keeps bringing you back to the same lesson until you truly understand and change your response. What you resist persists. Carl Jung. If in the past you were abandoned and told yourself, "I'm not enough," that belief silently governs you. You unconsciously choose people who can't stay or create conditions that make them leave, just to confirm the same belief. Each loop is not meant to punish, but to invite you to recognize the root of your pain and heal it from within. A woman once shared that despite going through many different relationships, they all ended the same way. She was neglected, and the affection faded. She thought she was just unlucky or hadn't met the right person. But eventually, she realized the truth when rereading her old journal. As a child, her feelings were rarely acknowledged at home. Whenever she felt sad or angry, she was told, "Stop exaggerating," or "Don't be selfish." Over time, she learned to suppress her emotions and accommodate others to keep the peace. The belief, "My feelings don't matter," led her to relationships that repeated that old narrative. Only when she dared to express her needs and set clear boundaries did the loop finally end, and she began attracting people who valued her real self. In terms of the soul contract, each repeated pattern is like a clause left unfinished. As long as you haven't learned the lesson, your soul will return you to the same theme, just with different characters, settings, and times. The moment you become aware and say, "This isn't the first time, I've felt this before," that's when you begin to rewrite the script. You no longer react with old habits, but respond in a new way, one you've never tried before, opening a new path forward. That's a sign you're nearing the completion of your soul contract after trauma. When the loop ends, it means you've reclaimed your freedom. No longer bound to the past, you move through life with present moment awareness. From there, new experiences, healthy, nourishing, sustainable, have a chance to enter your life. Something remarkable happens when the loop ends. The external world may not change immediately, but your way of walking through it does. People who once destabilized you might still appear, but they no longer have access to your deepest wounds. Situations that used to break you now become opportunities to practice a new response, a new way of showing up. Completing a lesson doesn't mean you'll never be tested again. It means the challenge no longer controls you. It may still appear, but as a gentle reminder rather than a storm. And when it does, you no longer ask, "Why is this happening to me?" but calmly say, "I understand, and I'm ready to move forward." Eventually, you'll see that every experience, no matter how painful, was part of the route that brought you to this place, the place your soul has long waited for. The purpose of the soul contract was never to break you, but to help you grow stronger, wiser, and freer. And when you can thank your old loops instead of resenting them, you'll know you've fully learned the lesson they came to teach. If you've experienced such painful loops, share your story in the comments. Perhaps your words will help someone else realize they too are close to completing their soul contract after trauma. Number 3, recognizing the message behind the wound. And when the loop has shown you where you are, the next step is to look deeper, to uncover the message hidden within each wound. If you stop at simply recognizing the repetition, but don't discover what it wants to teach you, you'll stand forever at the threshold of change. To overlook. But when she wrote out these experiences and the emotions tied to them, one theme stood out. I don't matter, and my voice has no value. Digging deeper, she traced it back to childhood, where she was often told, children shouldn't speak. That belief took root and led her to unconsciously seek out environments that reinforced her insignificance. When she saw this core message, everything changed. She began speaking up, enforcing boundaries, and choosing to be around those who truly listened. And both her relationships and her self-image transformed. Imagine your soul as a house with many rooms. Some rooms you visit daily, bright, familiar. Others have been locked away, holding memories or emotions you've avoided. Each repeated wound is like someone knocking on one of those doors. You can ignore it, but the knock will return, louder each time, until you open it. And when you finally do, you'll find not just dust and darkness, but treasures you forgot. Strength, creativity, courage. When you uncover the message behind your pain, you don't just resolve today's feelings, you free yourself from the chain of past memories attached to those feelings. You break an unconscious pattern that has bound you for years. And with that, the energy once trapped in those loops returns, fueling new, healthier experiences. This process is not always easy. There will be moments when you want to retreat, to stay silent, avoid the truth, pretend everything's fine. But in those moments, remember, healing doesn't come from avoiding pain, but from understanding why it's there and what must change. Once you see the message, you stop seeing pain as the enemy and start recognizing it as a teacher, strict, but guiding you closer to your truth. And that is a clear sign you're advancing on your journey of completing your soul contract after trauma. When you've recognized the hidden message behind your pain, a new door opens, but to walk through it, something else is needed. Real steps forward. Number 4. Reclaiming control of your life through small steps. After trauma, especially deep emotional wounds, you often feel like the steering wheel of your life has been ripped from your hands. Everything seems to happen as if someone else or some external event is driving your path. But one of the clearest signs that you are nearing the completion of your soul contract after trauma is when you begin to reclaim that control. Not with some dramatic, sweeping gesture, but through small, steady actions repeated every single day. In literature, Victor Hugo had Jean Valjean in Les Miserables rebuild his life not through grand revolutions, but through quiet choices, helping a poor family, keeping a promise, reconstructing a meaningful life one humble decision at a time. You too, after trauma, cannot and should not force yourself to start over in a single night. Your nervous system has already endured enough strain. What it needs is slow, grounded movement that helps you relearn how to trust yourself. Carl Jung described this as the process of aligning the conscious with the unconscious. Through active imagination, you visualize the version of yourself you want to become, and then bring it into the real world through tangible, embodied actions. One mistake many people make after trauma is believing they need a massive change to erase the past, move houses, quit jobs, end all relationships. But sudden, extreme shifts often throw the nervous system back into chaos. In contrast, small and consistent steps signal to your system, I am safe, I am in charge. And that is a vital layer of healing. In real life, I knew a woman who left an emotionally abusive marriage. For months afterward, she felt lost, like she no longer had any power over her life. Instead of forcing herself to bounce back immediately, she began with the smallest steps, 10 minutes of journaling each morning to hear her own voice, declining invitations that drained her, enrolling in a pottery class she once loved in college. She didn't realize until months later that these seemingly small acts had helped her slowly reclaim control. One day, she looked up and realized, this life is mine again. Jung once said, you are what you do, not what you say you'll do. After trauma, these words cut even deeper. You can say you want change, healing, a different life, but only when those desires attach to actions, no matter how small, do they become real. And every small action becomes a piece of your new identity, the identity of someone who stepped out of the pain loop and is building a new story. Imagine you are steering a massive ship. After a storm, the trauma, your course is off track. If you yank the wheel too hard, the whole vessel may tilt. But if you adjust it just a little, each day, sooner or later, you'll find yourself in a completely new sea, calmer, brighter, more aligned. Those small choices you make daily are the gentle tilts of the wheel. What matters is, you don't need to feel fully ready to begin. Readiness often comes after the first few steps. In fact, at first, you may still feel doubt that what you're doing is too small to matter. Depths of pain, you might have withdrawn, shutting the world out as a way to survive. You built solid walls, not letting anyone see your vulnerability. During that time, your energy contracted, your frequency closed in, like a darkened room only you could feel. But then, step by step, you walked through those long nights. You learned the lesson trauma came to teach, you faced yourself, and one day, you no longer felt the need to inspire anyone. Your presence alone began to offer peace. Carl Jung called this the collective unconscious, a shared psychic field we all tap into. When you live in truth, you touch that field, and the part of others that resonates with it begins to stir, even if you say nothing. Victor Hugo beautifully portrayed this through Jean Valjean in Les Miserables. After years of brutal imprisonment, Valjean didn't become bitter or vengeful. He chose to live quietly in service of others. He didn't give speeches or try to convince anyone. Just by being true to himself, he transformed the hearts of even those who once opposed him. I also once heard of a man who lost all his wealth in a failed investment. He spent the following years living slowly, learning to paint, working in a local woodworking shop. He didn't talk much about his losses, didn't try to impress anyone, but everyone who met him felt a rare calm, a quiet resilience. Young people came to learn carpentry, but often left with deeper lessons about how to face failure and rebuild a life. When you live in alignment with your soul contract, meaning you've stopped avoiding, stopped self-betraying, and dare to live your deepest values, you become a mirror. Not a mirror for comparison or imitation, but a mirror that helps others remember parts of themselves they've long forgotten. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And when you do that, you give others permission to do the same. What's special is that this impact is not always immediate or visible. You may never know whom you've touched or when the seeds you planted will bloom. But that's not the point. Living your soul contract was never meant to be a campaign to change the world. It's a personal vow. And your quiet commitment to that vow, over time, naturally ripples outward. In psychotherapy, this is known as healing presence, the state where your very being offers safety. You don't need to fix or advise. Your calm, your balance, your quiet strength allows others to open. That safety doesn't come from walls, it comes from peace within. After trauma, when you've healed deeply enough, you no longer need to hide, but also feel no pressure to expose everything. That balance creates trust. If one day you realize that your presence in relationships feels light instead of fearful, if your life itself, just as it is inspiring someone, then that's a clear sign. You are living your soul contract. And from here on out, you'll notice you no longer wish to go back to who you used to be. Number 6. You no longer want to return to who you were. After the deepest pains, there's one truth nearly everyone must face. You can never go back to who you were before. At first, that realization was terrifying. When a crisis hits, your instinct is to rewind, back to when everything was whole, when you were still your safe, familiar self. But walk far enough on this journey, and you'll see, not only is going back impossible, it's no longer desirable. Jung emphasized that we all begin life wearing a persona, a social mask that helps us fit in, meet others' expectations, and feel safe in relationships. But when life breaks you open, that mask begins to crack. If you try to reattach it, you'll feel exhausted. That's because the mask has served its purpose. It protected you long enough for you to grow stronger. From here on, clinging to it only traps you, halting your individuation. The path Jung described as becoming your whole self. Picture a butterfly who has outgrown its cocoon. When 'twas still a caterpillar, that cocoon was shelter, protection from storms and threats. But once the wings have formed, going back inside is not just pointless, it's fatal. The old version of you was like that cocoon. It helped you survive. But now you have wings, and the sky is your only true home. This change doesn't always come with fanfare. Sometimes, it's as quiet as opening your closet and realizing the dress you once adored no longer feels right. Or sitting in your favorite cafe, hearing a song tied to old memories, and realizing your emotions have shifted. You no longer want to wear the person you used to be, because it no longer reflects who you are becoming. I once heard the story of a woman who went through a painful divorce. At first, she just wanted things back: family dinners, vacations, the comfort of being part of a pair. But over time, as she started dancing again, taking art classes, sipping Sunday coffee alone, she discovered parts of herself she hadn't touched in years. Eventually, the idea of going back lost its pull. Jung wrote, We cannot live the afternoon of life according to the program of life's morning. Your maps have changed. The losses, the lessons, the breakthroughs, they rewrote your inner world. Returning to old roads trauma, you know. Pain doesn't disappear because of clever explanations. It transforms when you become someone big enough to hold it. It's like standing too close to a painting. All you can see are messy brushstrokes and random colors. But take a few steps back, and suddenly, the image comes into view. Not because the strokes changed, but because your perspective did. Peace after trauma is the same. It arrives when you stop pressing your nose against the cracks and begin to see the broader picture of your life. A viewer once wrote about being a promising track athlete whose career ended abruptly after a devastating injury. For a long time, he spiraled in grief and self-doubt. But instead of rushing to fix things with a stable job or a quick plan, he allowed himself to slow down, taking a cooking class, working part-time as a kitchen assistant in a local restaurant. Morning by morning, as he chopped ingredients and inhaled the scent of unfamiliar spices, he discovered joy again, not in winning races, but in fully being in each moment. From then on, he no longer wished to return to his old life. A new door had opened, one where he still lived fully, just in a different and more meaningful way. What's fascinating is that this kind of peace is not resignation or passivity. It's a conscious, active state. You're not drifting aimlessly, you're allowing the current to guide you to places you never imagined. You trust in your own adaptability. You believe that even without a perfect map, you'll find your way. Think of learning to ride a bicycle as a child. At first, you want to know exactly what will happen when the training wheels come off. But eventually, you realize you don't need all the answers, just your legs pedaling, your hands steering, and your sense of balance forming moment by moment. Peace without answers is like that moment. It doesn't mean there's no danger. It means you've learned how to move with uncertainty without losing yourself. This kind of peace is a powerful sign that you are nearing the completion of your soul contract after trauma. Because this contract never required you to solve everything, only to learn how to breathe, stand, and live fully even without certainty. It's the ability to smile in the gray zones, to feel whole inside a story with no final chapter yet. If you want to practice this, try exploring small unknowns. Instead of planning your entire week, leave one day open and see what your heart feels like doing that morning. Instead of rushing to fix a problem, sit with the question for a few days and let it unfold. Or take a walk on a path you've never taken, letting curiosity lead you. Peace is not the prize for those who complete healing. It's a skill you build with each moment you stay with discomfort without running. And when this becomes your way of being, you'll realize that you've stepped into a whole new state of life, where answers matter less than presence, and where the closing of your soul contract isn't an end, but a doorway into your most liberated chapter yet. When you have walked through all 7 signs, it's no longer just proof that you've survived. It's confirmation that you've consciously stepped out of your old self. Each painful loop has closed. Each hidden message behind your wounds has been understood. And each small step you take now is shaping a freer, clearer, more authentic version of you. And if you've ever wondered, how do I know I'm truly ready to close the soul contract after my trauma? The answer isn't whether you've fixed everything. It's in the calm you feel standing in the unknown. It's in the way you no longer try to repair who you were, but instead feel excited about creating something new. That's when you know the past no longer defines you. You're living from your deepest values now. If these reflections have helped you recognize your own path and inspired you to keep walking forward without letting the past hold you back, then stay with us. Because this is no longer just a story of healing. It's your journey of rewriting destiny, of laying down foundations no trauma can shake, and of living the life your soul chose, long before you were broken and far beyond any wound.